Pro Wrestling 225 family, welcome to a very special edition of Unleashed. I'm Spencer alongside Landon, and we are getting you set because it is almost time for us to set it off in Houma, Louisiana for Super Gold 8.
We're going to crown a brand new winner of the Super Gold Rumble as we celebrate 8 years of Pro Wrestling 225.
All roads lead to the Super Gold Rumble, but it is a night of exciting action before then, including several championship matches.
That's right. The Pro Wrestling 225 Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Christian Blake defends against Van Vicious.
That's right, Landon, and the Tag Team Championships are on the line. The Pillar is having an open challenge for those tag titles in Houma.
Can't wait for that one. But can you believe it? We're gonna see Vordell Walker take on none other than Braxton Hunter.
A heavy-hitting matchup for sure, and another one is going to be the exclamation point. Steve Anthony returns to Houma and returns to Pro Wrestling 225 to take on the defiant Simon Phillips.
But also the SEC Championship on the line in Houma. That's right, the big bad Vladimir defends against Wes Warren.
That's right, guys. It is going to be an exciting night of action, but of course it all leads to the Super Gold Rumble, where one man will guarantee himself a shot at the Pro Wrestling 225 Heavyweight Championship.
Gosh, the Super Gold Rumble. Man, over the years, we have seen some incredible moments and some incredible competitors inside the ring in the Super Gold Rumble.
And we already know several of the competitors who have declared themselves as entrants in this year's Super Gold Rumble. And I gotta tell you, Landon, it's feeling like a stacked card.
That's absolutely right, man. We know Vordell Walker is in the Rumble, a former winner of the Rumble himself.
That's absolutely right. And two other former Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight champions in the Mad Dog Gil Gracie and Mustang Mike, also in the Rumble, Landon.
That's right. We've got champions in the Rumble. That's right. Be looking out for some tip touches this year. It's the Pillar in the Rumble.
And it's exciting because the Rumble so often is a chance for some first-time entrants. And we'll have some of those this Saturday as well, including the exciting upstart Andreas and host of Lunchbox Comedy, Jeff Vance, is in the Super Gold Rumble as well.
Jeff, I'm just going to tell you right now. We did this. We tried our damnedest in the Super Gold Rumble. As a matter of fact, I think we still have a little bit of unfinished business from that Rumble match, if you remember.
It's going to be a great show. We can't wait. But I want to tell you a little bit about some of the key highlights, some of the things leading up to the Rumble that I always think about when information that will help you make your pick and who's going to win the Super Gold Rumble.
Lay it on me.
A little bit of by the numbers, right? Some things to know about the Rumble. I do love that. We know the 7 winners that have come before, and it is a who's who in Pro Wrestling 225. Of course, it all started Minotaur winning the first ever Super Gold Rumble at Super Gold 1. And then, of course, Vordell Walker, like we've already mentioned. Wild Thing, the winner of the Super Gold Rumble 3. Corey Constantine. We know.
What a moment.
Yeah, we know how big of a deal it was when Corey Constantine won. How about 12 gauge? DJ Ciprian.
Yes!
A winner of the Rumble as well. Lucha Lacora. We know when he won, that led to that incredible steel cage match with Corey Constantine.
One of the best.
Speaking of the best, just 1 year ago, Super Gold 7. The ultimate getting the chip off of your shoulder moment as Christian Blake, who I think is unarguably the greatest Super Gold Rumble competitor in the history of Pro Wrestling 225, finally got it done, got the win at Super Gold 7, and of course, as we know, went on to claim the Pro Wrestling 225 Heavyweight Championship.
Man, Christian Blake, the man that was in every single Super Gold Rumble leading up to that. Super Gold 8, defending his gold. So poetic.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense, right? The first ever Rumble without the game changer, but he's got his hands full still with Van Vicious and that heavyweight championship on the line. Christian Blake in Super Gold 7 set the record for the longest performance ever in Super Gold with 58 minutes and 9 seconds. Went from number 1 all the way to the end, lasted nearly an hour, a performance that we will never, ever forget. And, you know, other historic performances from that night include the runner-up to Super Gold Rumble 7.
The big bad Vladimir Koloff had one of the most incredible performances in the Rumble last year, and he looks to repeat that after defending his SEC championship in the same night at Super Gold 8.
Well, it's a big question, right? Vladimir Koloff has said it is his destiny to be the first man to hold both the SEC and the heavyweight championship in Pro Wrestling 225. But to climb that mountain, to get it done in the Super Gold Rumble, I know he won the Iron Man match. I know that he is as hot as anyone on the planet right now. But is it truly his destiny? We may find out this Saturday at Super Gold. When I also think of sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, right? These really great performances. It's hard not to think of Super Gold 3, where we had sort of a dubious record set as well. And it went to El Patron de Oro, one of your favorites.
Look, in the world of professional wrestling, the number 3 is a very, very important number. I think we all recognize that, right? Unfortunately, this man couldn't even make it to 3 seconds!
That's right. 1, 2, over the rope, eliminated by Killer Shane. Really, one of my favorite moments in the history of the Rumble. So, I mean, he did his best. What are you going to do?
It's all part of what the Super Gold Rumble can bring. You never know what's going to happen when you go through those ropes.
That's absolutely right. You know, take me back to Super Gold 1, the first competitor ever eliminated from a Rumble, Brandon Collins.
Unbelievable.
If you can believe that. Amazing to see how far he has come. And of course, Super Gold 6, the first ever women to compete in the Super Gold Rumble. First, glamorous Amorous Blair, and then Cody King. Didn't want that spotlight on Amorous Blair for very long, so came in right behind her. And listen, they got in there, they hung tough with the guys as well. Really impressive showings from both of them.
That's absolutely right. I'd be interested to see if we see Amorous Blair, Cody King, or any women in a future Super Gold Rumble.
Absolutely. The Super Gold Rumble, one of the best moments each and every year in Pro Wrestling 225, and this year promises to be no different.
But Spencer, recently it's come to light that there may be one more entrant into the Super Gold 8 Rumble that you and I were not expecting.
Yeah, Landon, you say that there may be, but based off of what we've seen and what we know, maybe not. General Manager Wild Thing, a former winner of the Super Gold Rumble, declared himself as an entrant, and it seems the president of operations in Pro Wrestling 225, Jordy, not so comfortable with that choice. Take a look.
Dude, shut up. You're stubborn. Because I've told you 5 times. Will you shut up for a second? Okay. You cannot enter the room because you're the general manager. It was I am not a hypocrite. It was one match. It was one match. Like, shut up for 2 seconds. It was one match, okay? It wasn't for a title. What happened if you win? What happened if you gonna go for a title? You gonna make your own matches for a title? Is that what you're gonna do? You can't do that. No! Dude, you're starting to piss me off, okay? You cannot make your own title matches. No! I'm hanging up.
Jordy Pujol clearly frustrated. I don't know the last time I've seen Jordy look quite that angry. Well, especially at someone like Wild Thing.
Yeah, you know, I think so often they're on the same page.
Yeah.
But when you think about Super Gold, it's the biggest show of the year for Pro Wrestling 225. You have to be thinking bigger picture. And so I can see where Jordy's coming from. Is Wild Thing being selfish?
I don't know. I mean, after the year plus reign of Michael White, I mean, I almost feel like Wild Thing deserves to put himself in the Super Gold Rumble after everything we saw from Mike, but I don't know. Who's to say? I mean, I get what Jordy is saying. Is it an abuse of power? I don't know.
I guess we'll find out Saturday in Homa if the Rumble will have a Wild Thing entrance or not. We will see. But, you know, Wild Thing has been a big part of this Rumble over the course of the last 8 years. And I want us to go through each of the 8 years and really talk about some of our favorite moments, Landon, because it has been chock full of really awesome stuff at the Super Gold Rumble. And it all kicked off in 2017 at the very first Rumble, the very first Super Gold event, right? Match number 1, The Rocket versus Simon Phillips.
That's absolutely right. Simon Phillips was the first man to get a win in Pro Wrestling 225, period. And it all happened at Super Gold 1.
Isn't that so interesting to think about now as he, you know, the recent battle with Christian Blake? Is Simon Phillips ready to take that next step towards the heavyweight championship? A lot of people are saying Simon Phillips is somebody to keep your eye out. If he is an entrant in the Rumble this year, I don't know. He's got a full plate with Steve Anthony, but could be a dark horse. We'll see how it goes.
Can't wait to see that one. Also, at Super Gold 1, we crowned our first ever Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight champion, Spencer.
That's right, the Super Gold Rumble. The very first one was actually for the heavyweight championship. And the match started, Mustang Mike, Tyson Dean were sort of in a draw in the main event of Super Gold 1, and it turned into the first ever Rumble, which was really, really incredible. And Minotaur ends up being the last entrance, thanks to, by the way, Michael White brings out Minotaur, who eliminates Mustang Mike, therefore Minotaur, first ever heavyweight champion, crowned at Super Gold 1.
So much history. But let me take you back to Super Gold 2. That's right. When Stan the Man Sweetan took to the air from the top rope.
The Louisiana legend knows what it takes to put on an incredible show for the Pro Wrestling 225 family, and he let it all fly at Super Gold 2. What a moment, Landon.
Just absolutely incredible. But of course, our winner of Super Gold number 2, none other than Vordell Walker.
The ring wrecker has made his presence felt all throughout the history of Pro Wrestling 225, and it was his win in the Rumble at Super Gold 2 that would ultimately lead to his heavyweight championship victory.
That's absolutely right.
We also know from Super Gold 2, Landon, it's painful for me to say this, but Super Gold is synonymous with another name that we've already mentioned, and that's Michael White. It is almost impossible to talk about Super Gold without talking about Michael White. And I almost feel like it's like saying Macbeth in a theater, right? Like
Can't do it.
It's a curse. And so I don't want to say too much, but it was another pivotal point in the Michael White story at Super Gold 2 when finally, official at that time, referee Jordy had enough of Michael White's games and attacks Michael White at Super Gold 2, a moment that I think the Pro Wrestling 225 family will never forget.
Absolutely not. And we all know the story that played out after that. But let me take you to Super Gold number 3. In one of the most incredible matchups, people are still talking about this match today, when the Cajun Outlaws took on the Dream Team.
Man, if you have not seen that match, guys, do yourself a favor. It is on the official Pro Wrestling 225 YouTube channel. You got to go check it out. One of those just unforgettable moments in the history of Pro Wrestling 225. And it was a really incredible night for the Dream Team all together, Landon, because you and I both know the winner of the Rumble that year was Wild Thing.
And let me tell you something. It was a roller coaster of a night, because Wild Thing not only won the Super Gold Rumble that night, but to do it, he eliminated his Dream Team brethren in Rocket and Mustang Mike.
I think that's an important note, Landon, right? Because we're talking about Super Gold 8, and we're talking about Wild Thing. Is he going to enter himself into the Rumble? It's already been proven. Watch the footage. Wild Thing is willing to do whatever it takes when it comes to potentially getting a championship opportunity. Wouldn't surprise me if he tried to pull the same stunt again this weekend.
Yeah, I understand. I do think there's been a little bit more of a mutual respect built up between Wild Thing and Jordy Pujol. Jordy says he's out, and the last we heard from Wild Thing on Facebook was that he's going to respect Jordy's wishes, but you just never know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. A position I would never want to be in.
Certainly not.
But Lena, let's talk about Super Gold 4. Super Gold 4, such an exciting match card altogether. You know, you talked about Cajun Outlaws and the Dream Team from Super Gold 3. How about the first ever meeting between 337 and the Overboys?
337 and the Overboys. These were two of the absolute biggest tag teams in the pro wrestling scene in Louisiana, and they clashed in the middle of Super Gold. I just can't believe it. It was one of those moments where you just had goosebumps run all the way down your spine.
Which could also be said about the winner of Super Gold Rumble 4, Corey Constantine. Hey, remember when he had a heart?
You know, Corey Constantine was truly one of the most genuine, the most relatable, the most down-to-earth people you could have met back at Super Gold 4 when he did it. He finally lived his dream, won the Rumble, of course, went on at March Madness that year to become the Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight champion, dethroning Gil Gracie, and then what happened?
Well, what happened was he went on to be the longest reigning champion in the history of Pro Wrestling 225. You know, he said it for us a million times, but combined nearly 1,000 days of holding that championship between his two championship reigns. But at what cost?
All of our sanities.
You're right about that. You are right about that. But Super Gold 5, Landon. Super Gold 5. What a show.
The year we took Super Gold on the road.
That's right. Man, I just think about that time as an exciting one in Pro Wrestling 225 because of the pandemic, forced to do things differently than we ever would have expected. But 225 persisted, rolled on, put the show on the road, and it paid off with an incredible event at Super Gold 5.
That's absolutely right. Super Gold 5 saw the absolute first time, that's right, the debut in the Rumble for Gil Gracie. Because at all of the previous Rumbles where there was a champion, guess who the champion was going into Super Gold?
Right. Gil Gracie, one of the very best to ever set foot in a 225 locker room. And so, everybody got put on notice the second his music hit and he entered the Rumble. But the winner that year, maybe I think I would say maybe the biggest underdog to ever win the Super Gold Rumble, 12 gauge, DJ Ciprian. What a moment.
You talk about taking advantage of every opportunity that Pro Wrestling 225 gives to you. DJ Ciprian does that time and time again, whether it's with DNA, whether it's solo. At Super Gold, that night was DJ's moment.
Absolutely, and one that I certainly won't ever forget. Being there in Mississippi for that one, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It was truly, truly incredible. And I think that it's the exact opposite of how I feel about Super Gold 6. A great show. Great show. The 6th anniversary of Super Gold. It was the first show I was lucky enough to be sitting ringside to do commentary. And unfortunately, it marked perhaps the lowest point in the history of the company as the 10-man Survivor match, Team White versus Team Wild Thing, would lead to Wild Thing losing control of Pro Wrestling 225 and the power going into the hands of Michael White.
Super Gold 6 was a paradigm shift in the history of this company. And let me just tell you something. Keep your eyes on Super Gold 8 because I feel it in my bones. There's gonna be another one. When our SEC champion successfully defends against Wes Warren and throws every single other man in the Super Gold Rumble over the top rope to complete his destiny. Watch for it.
Landon, I just don't understand how delusional you've gotten over Vladimir Koloff.
What does that mean?
I mean what I said. You are delusional. I'm not taking anything away from Vladimir Koloff. He, winning that Iron Man match, one of the greatest things I've ever seen. He is talented as can be. But it is no easy task walking into the Rumble and winning. He's going to have 20 plus other guys out there looking to stop him.
Who was in the final two last year with Christian?
I understand. It was Vladimir Koloff.
So he knows a thing or two about Rumbles.
Sure.
We just got finished talking about how Super Gold is the moment for destiny. It is the exact place where something like this could happen. I'm just saying, the stars are aligning.
I'm going to give you my pick in just a minute, but I can guarantee you it's not Vladimir Koloff. You did bring up Super Gold 7 just a year ago, and Landon, hard to argue that it's not one of our favorite events ever in the history of Pro Wrestling 225.
Man, Super Gold 7 was just one of those moments where you had to be there. I think maybe the most fun we've had collectively in Pro Wrestling 225.
I think you're absolutely right for two reasons. One, I know Christian Blake won the Rumble, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you know who almost won the Rumble? No, you don't take my joke. Me!
Oh, come on, no, it was me!
I almost won the
I
Rumble.
was right there. You're the one that threw on the top rope first. Vlad's music hit, you went,
Woo! And where did you go?
right behind you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And you injured yourself.
But you went first.
You got injured getting over the top rope.
No one has to know about that.
I'm just saying, I got out of there clean, unscathed. Can't say the same thing about you. But even though I was this close to getting a shot at the heavyweight championship, that night really belonged to one man, and that was the game changer Christian Blake. Had been in the final 5 of all 6 Rumbles before, and finally, from number 1, lasted nearly an hour, eliminating Vladimir Koloff in the end to win the Super Gold Rumble, and that would, of course, lead to Vendetta, when Christian Blake would become Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight champion.
Truly one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen in my entire time watching professional wrestling. It was one of those matches that reminds me, I'm a fan. I'm here because I love this, and those are the best moments in Pro Wrestling 225.
And he hasn't slowed down since.
Not at all.
Christian Blake has been on the biggest tear, but is Super Gold going to be his downfall this year? He's got to defend that heavyweight championship against the very slippery Van Vicious in what is likely to be a really competitive matchup. He took care of Van Vicious at Honor and Pride, but what I want us to point out here is he did it by himself. And it seems like that's going to be the case again at Super Gold 8.
That's absolutely right. I mean, Jordan Jah, an incredible performance at Iron Sharpens Iron in the 60-minute Iron Man, but comes out without his SEC championship, and we have not heard from the Asian Cajuns since that night.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. It's so strange because we've said it over and over again. The Overboys are a family. They have each other's back better than anybody. We haven't seen Jordan Jah, which is why Van Vicious was able to attack Christian Blake from behind with no repercussions.
Right.
We haven't seen manager to the Overboys, Brett Ian Landry. And Christian Blake has all but confirmed the case will be the same at Super Gold 8. So what does that mean for his chances in retaining that gold against Van Vicious?
You know, it's going to be one of those important moments to watch. It's all going to come down to what Christian Blake can do mentally to prepare for this contest under these conditions.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, if we have anybody to bet on at Super Gold, how in the world could you bet against Christian Blake? But things seem to be a much larger hill to climb than maybe we would have anticipated.
Certainly. But like we said before, there's more than just that championship on the line. I cannot wait to see who steps up to the plate, or should I say, steps up to the tee, to take on Dale Springs and Alex Braddock. That's right, the Pillar, defend their gold at Super Gold.
Talk about a run. I mean, those guys are confident. The Pillar are really feeling it, coming into their own incredible run as tag team champions so far, successfully defeating Excellence at Honor and Pride. I think they're ready for just about anybody who could step up.
Listen, they get better every single time they step between those ropes. And an open challenge. You know what that tells me? That tells me we have a confident pair of tag team champions.
But on the flip side of that, they have no way to prepare for their opponents. But you know who can prepare? Whoever is going to answer that open challenge, right? They know that they're going to go out when that challenge presents itself, and they'll be ready to take on the Pillar. So, will Alex Braddock and Dale Springs be able to come up with a game plan on the fly to retain their gold in Houma?
Can't wait to see it. Also happening in Houma, Louisiana, returning to the East Park Rec Center, none other than Steve Anthony. That's right, the exclamation point is back in Houma.
And it's going to be an epic, epic clash when he takes on defiant Simon Phillips. We've been asking this question about Simon Phillips since he tore his own family apart in Disobey. Is he ready to take that ultimate next step? There will be no better measuring stick than the exclamation point in Houma.
And I think that's exactly the point. Simon Phillips craves competition. He craves validation because in Simon Phillips' mind, he is the best in 225. And what better way to prove it than to take on the exclamation point in Houma?
We're going to find out just how ready he is on Saturday night, but also a really exciting match as well. You know, you mentioned Steve Anthony. The last time we saw Steve Anthony, he went one-on-one in that unbelievable street fight with the ring wrecker, Vordell Walker. And he will be in Houma, Louisiana as well at Super Gold 8 to take on the reimagined Braxton Hunter.
That's absolutely right, man. You talk about people that are just on a tear in Pro Wrestling 225. It seemed like Braxton Hunter's momentum could not be stopped in the Iron Sharpens Iron 60-minute match. But, I mean, by a hair did he not win. And it looked just what a roller coaster ride that match was for Braxton Hunter. I cannot wait to see what he does coming off that performance.
And he's going to have a great, great challenge in front of him in Vordell Walker. This is a match with two very different styles. And we know if Braxton wants to take it to the mat, wants to be that mat technician, right? He's so good at it. Vordell Walker is absolutely there with him. That could be one of the hardest hitting, one of the more impressive matches we've seen in a really long time. I cannot figure out who I think is going to get the upper hand there.
Because it's one of those that it could end in submission or it could end in 2 seconds in a knockout.
Right.
You just don't know.
Also, up for grabs at Super Gold 8 is that SEC championship, Landon. Vladimir Koloff defends against his former Cold War comrade in the cold-blooded Wes Warren.
Well, you say comrade. I mean, it was a con the whole time. But, yes, Vladimir Koloff walks into Super Gold, your SEC champion, and looks to defend against a game Wes Warren. Don't forget that Wes Warren was the man to score the first fall in that 4-man Iron Man match.
Well, and that's why Wes Warren kind of feels like he deserves this championship match, right? Had that been a regular Fatal 4-Way, Wes Warren would be your SEC champion right now.
That's absolutely right. I can't argue with that. I think it's a fair contest. It's going to be a fantastic match at Super Gold.
And of course, it all leads to the main event of Super Gold 8, the Super Gold Rumble. It is sure to be an exciting match. Over 20 competitors And we've given you some of them already tonight. What do you think, Landon? What do you expect to see come Super Gold Rumble time?
I think we're gonna have some great returns. I think we're gonna have some guys we've never seen in the Rumble before. We already know Andreas is gonna be there making his debut in 225. I think it seems like it has all the makings to be the greatest Super Gold Rumble we've ever seen.
I couldn't agree more. You know why I couldn't agree more, Landon?
Are you in the Rumble?
No, I decided let the guys fight it out this year. I'll wait my turn. I'll get my shot next year.
Okay.
But the reason I think this Super Gold Rumble could be the best one we've ever had
I don't think I like this.
is because of one man. And I think it's the man that's going to be the reason why Vladimir Koloff walks out a loser at Super Gold 8. He's already declared himself the #1 entrant in the Super Gold Rumble, the reimagined Braxton Hunter. There is no one on this planet Earth who has maybe more heart than Braxton Hunter. You talked about how close he was in the Iron Man match, but it's such a deeper story than that. He had 0 falls with 15 minutes to go, was able to climb back, get 2 falls when he was getting wheeled to the back.
Yeah.
2 falls, tied it up with Vladimir Koloff, and was a chair shot to the head away from winning that thing. And he has made it known he's going in at #1, looking to give what Christian Blake gave a year ago and go from 1 to done to the winner. And I got to tell you something. Braxton Hunter, we saw it with the Mayor's Cup, right? Last year. He's always just that moment away. And he finally got that big win at the Mayor's Cup. But I think now is his time. I think now is the time to reimagine Braxton Hunter as the winner of the Super Gold Rumble.
Let me just say this. This is either going to be the single greatest decision Braxton Hunter has ever made or the single biggest mistake of his entire career.
Either way, we are in for one hell of a ride Saturday night. The first time Super Gold has ever come to Houma, Louisiana. We know what a great city Houma is for professional wrestling, and we're here to set just one more milestone, one more notch in the belt of history of pro wrestling in Houma, Louisiana. I can't wait, Landon. It's going to be an epic show.
And don't forget, if you're watching this live on Pro Wrestling 225 Unleashed, there's still time. Get your tickets for Super Gold 8 right now.
And don't forget to join us right back here on Unleashed for part 1 of Super Gold 8. For Landon, I'm Spencer. We are ready for Super Gold, and we will catch you right back here next week on Unleashed.